Hello, everyone. It is May the 20th. It's a Wednesday. And let's just jump right into this market analysis. What an interesting day today was. Um, I would say price action is pretty undecided, but let's dig into this and let's have a little peek. So I marked the beginning of the week. On Sunday, we were calling strength, and this major pattern here with the run up, oh, this is called a climax. It enters into this sideways consolidation zone. I believe this will break to the upside. I can't believe the U.S. dollar is going to get stronger, but that's what I am seeing here. We could always be wrong, and from here, I was talking about U.S. strength, but I was also highlighting that I was unsure. Nothing was super comfortable for me to take a trade. Um, Now, I might be, when I do this off the top of my head, so I'm not entirely sure when I got into this pound USD short, but it's something I even posted. I was on this pound USD short, and price blew through the trend line, and we'll get to that in a second. But it was just incredibly close to my stop. So I don't know why. I feel like this push down is kind of a shot across the bow, in my opinion. I don't feel like it's gonna. I don't think it'll really run. Like I don't think we're gonna get down here or anything like that. I'm in a position where I'm reactive at this point. There's a bunch of reasons why I went short. Pardon me, long the U.S. dollar today, and I haven't been stopped out yet. So some trailing stops, and let's get into it. So yeah, after our discussion of going long, it went aggressively short. We weren't in any positions, which was great, and or if we were, it wasn't many, and we had already discussed that we were going to wait for the U.S. dollar to give us a little bit better of an indication. Let's move on. Euro USD, we talked about it. It was down here. I thought it was going to break potentially to the downside. And we've come up and we have also broken a little bit. And it's just coming up, making this nice little double top here. It did come out of this trend line, but at this point, it's kind of up in the air. If this is a false break, it hasn't tucked itself back into the trend line and it hasn't really carried on either. It shot us a signal there, which was a fair trade. It moved up a little bit further. Um, this would be a good example of where maybe our stop being above the psychological major lines in the sand. If you had used this third pivot as a stop, or maybe this previous area of support and resistance as an indicator of where you're going to run your stop, and you could see you would have cleared it. So we'll see what price does at this point, but a break to the downside would not be completely surprising to me. I don't really care which way things are going. I am spending US dollars down in Costa Rica, but I also am making US dollars. So it's a bit of a wash for me, whether it's strengthening or not. But our job is to just figure out where it's going, to read the charts and to make decisions that way, not what we want to happen. So yeah, let's see what happens over the next couple days. I'm not in this trade. This was a trade that I've highlighted, and now that we've kind of had those 4 hours, or this is on a 4 hour chart. Now that this time has passed since Sunday, which would have been right around here, um, the market has gone up and actually pulled back. It pulled back. So after this run up, I watched it come up to here, and then I saw it run down, and it actually took me out. I was at break even. It took me out here, and at this point, it's run up again. I see further upside on this. I really do. Um, but it took me out and I re-entered. And it's just a small position because I already have some US dollar exposure going on. But it's just a small, I re-entered it. I haven't touched this chart since this is my analysis watch list. So I jump in between a couple here. But you can see that the price pullback, it made a beautiful hammer right on a trend line. So this is leading me to believe that more upside action's coming. I watched it pull back, I watched it take me out, I watched it form this, and I re-entered. It was only after this had formed, and there was other reasons why I took this trade. It wasn't just because I was taken out. It formed these reasons that is what I wanted to see. That okay, it's fine. It got taken out at break even, made a couple bucks, didn't lose, which is a huge um, bonus in our trading. It really is the operating where you get taken out quite a bit is going to be fine. I have little cuts all day long, little I set tight stops. It's just sometimes that tight stop might be a 2 to 1, 3 to 1, 4 to 1 sometimes, but it's really tight. So if it's taken out, it's a very small amount. But if it was to run, we'd be doing really well for ourselves. So yeah, that's it. It takes a while to get there to get a lot of to get comfortable with being consistently taken out. But you just have to trust that if you keep trading, because of our rules, uh, that the future probabilities of being profitable are on your side. If you just keep trading with risk management, you can win at this. So yeah, so I'm still long, not even at break even at this point, but we've had that. I got in here and we've had that nice run up, which was great. Some of these ideas I've posted. So yeah, that was actually from last week. But anyways, moving on, we have some more ground to cover here. The pound USD, you can see it's dropping. This was really up in the air for me, to be honest with you. I think we're heading on down. This was already something that I was talking about. I cannot describe to you how close this trade was. This was actually pretty close to my execution trade, but look at this. Oh, this was my other trade. This downside, my pithy downside comment. So you can see that it just came, like that was truly what it looked like on my execution. I just watched it go against me. This represented half a penny. I was blown away that that on the scale over here, the distance from kind of here to I can't even do it, but definitely luck was on my side with this one. At this point, it is dropping quite a bit. I was talking to a gentleman. I really do respect his opinion. I disagreed with him today. We were also looking at this as a flag upward, and it's only just in the last couple hours of trading. It is almost 8 o'clock my time, which means it is 10 o'clock Eastern Standard Time. And I wanted to wait. I wanted to see a little bit more reaction to see what the market was doing. It came down on this half an hour as well, or this is an hour, but on the half hour is even cleaner. And and I just thought, okay, this thing is going to break. So you can see it just drove down, just drove right into that EMA, went sideways for a little flag, and has dropped through it. So um, yeah, I'm gonna just keep an eye on this, see how far this trade goes. It looks like we're in a good one already, and this is something we've been talking about from Sunday, and I believe I got it here the first time, and but now it's come up, and it's just if you were to look alongside here, you're getting a lot of resistance to price. So very technically sound trading opportunity. Let's see what happens. As we know, anything can happen. Moving on. But that was a trade idea that we discussed, and I think it's now starting. Took that little bit of time to come back up here and really test some waters, but I think we're heading down. Same thing, another US dollar discussion. It's potentially coming on strong right now. Let's go back and have a look. Who knows exactly how far this is going to go? Is it going to come up to the EMAs and carry on more downside? Is it going to blow right through? No one knows, but we can see that it is confirming a little bit of these areas of support for price. So this is an opportunity, not that we ever really know, but this is an opportunity where I would be going to break even and starting to protect myself and taking profits. And it's a Wednesday, and I'm not sure if I've added value at this point. I'm trying to keep myself in the dark as to where I stand. I do have a mental idea, of course, but yeah, let's move on. So playing little tricks with myself. So this is another beautiful trend line. You can see that I'm not curve fitting, point there, point there, point there. I think this is what's going to happen. You can see I was marking up the chart today for a partner that I discussed trades with. Um, you can see you get these really strong drops, and you think, oh, it's going to drop, it's going to fall through. And you just have to wait for these areas of confirmation, and you can end up finding these high probability trades. But the trick is in the process of waiting for price to come to particular areas for you. And this is one of those areas. It's come down, it's formed a hammer, it's even got a engulfing in there, and it's carrying on. Is it here that it gets stopped? Is it here that it gets stopped? Or is it carrying on? And we will constantly keep adapting to see what these areas look like. So the New Zealand dollar, US dollar, it is not an idea, but I'm in it. Excuse me. I took a trade earlier today. It had three tops to it. Then this big, beautiful 4-hour candle developed, and I took it. It's a small half risk, I believe, because I already am in the US dollar trade and moving stops tighter. Um, and it looks like it's working. Did I even mention this? No, I see this here. I wonder if I was thinking about what I was thinking of doing there. I also do break down a lot of people ask me a lot, kind of help them do the risk management. So I set up these windows and stuff in various account amounts. All right, where are we here? Let's move on. So we've talked quite a bit about the US CAD. You can see from Sunday, I felt like it was more upside. I was wrong. We've come down, we've hit this area. Um, Oil, because we always seem to refer back to oil, oil just hasn't stopped. It was supposed to be doomsday, and look at it's just rebounded. This was negative territory. Uh, what is that? A couple weeks ago, and um, I think at this point, this is called a window or a gap, a window in Japanese technical analysis. This gap is resistance for price. The whole gap is resistance for price. And any technicians out there, I try to be true to the craft. This is something that I'm kind of carrying the torch of. So that's why I am a technician. I don't sit there, I'm a trader, I'm not a crypto guy. I am a technician. And I pride myself on that I care a lot about the craft and the art and how repetitive a lot of these patterns are at the end of the day. Um, Saying all that, if there's something that you guys notice or you have questions, shoot it out in the videos or Facebook or Twitter or whatever. I have so many different avenues to get in touch, and I'll do my best to answer those questions for you. So that's oil moving all up. So we got onto oil on this one. So that's oil moving up into the zone that we have highlighted. As I said, this gap is a resistance area, the whole gap for this price. So we've had this beautiful run up, flagging action. Um, you could even say that was a kind of an ascending triangle. It's fairly flat, and it is broken to the upside, which is what you'd be looking for. Another little flag and breaking to the upside. It's coming up on resistance time for this, and we'll see what happens. I'm long oil. I'm in a pretty large position on oil, not on the CFD. It's more on the ETF. I have that trade idea. It's one of my most contentious trade ideas listed. I learned a lot from that trade idea, but I am still long it against a lot of naysayers um, on that one. So moving back to the charts and the currency pairs, as we said, it's a commodity currency. The CAD is, and if the oil is weakening, and at the same time, if we can get US dollar strengthening uh, from this position, this could be a really strong push out. And and you can see that this hammer, like I didn't touch these, please refer back. I'm not trying to curve fit or anything, but you can see these beautiful patterns that are just sitting right on EMAs, sitting right on trend lines that we've put in there. Let's delete that on camera, and you can see that this is poised for a potential run up and a really strong run up. And we'll see Friday. We'll see Friday. I wanted to apologize. The last video didn't have any Forex Factory in it. I don't go off of charts or anything at this point, but here's Forex Factory, or a list of what I should be talking about. But I do try to show the Forex Factory in there, and you can see that we have it's at 8:30 tonight is the odd, and I am in an odd position as well. But okay, so nothing gleaming. By the time I've done this video, this pound, well, pardon me, this pound news was this morning, and I rode through that as well. But nothing major. Let's have a look at tomorrow. If you're in the euro overnight, lots of red flag, lots of orange flag as well, and these things do move the needle on the pound for sure. You're going to be waking up to some red flag and some CAD news and all these exciting things that tomorrow's a big day. Tomorrow's a big day for the U.S. dollar. So that's going to help guide our decision making when it comes to tonight and tomorrow. Maybe I'll get up early and monitor some things. Let's move on. This was a trade idea that we have been talking about, and it looks like it's working out. And I reposted this, I believe. So I reposted it because it did double top. We carried on. We got in somewhere around here. It carried on, and then it went sideways. Got out, took some profits because it was a weekend. I didn't want to be in it anymore. And then this pattern here, right on this trend line, developed, and I felt like that was a good enough reason. Took the trade, and it's carried on. Now we'll see how far we go. Obviously, in a perfect world, up here is beautiful, but we'll see what happens. We'll see what happens. But that is a trade idea. And I actually had a chat with another friend, and he confirmed it. But we're wrong all the time. So this one here, I took the scalp. That's the reason that's there. I gotta delete these. This trade ran up and then it ran down, and I grabbed the scalp on this. I believe I was in a scalp and made like $1 at this point. I just didn't feel comfortable that it hadn't gone far enough up. So here's a good example of maybe you don't want to be shorting. Now I just took the scalp, but it is, in my opinion, it needs a little bit further. I think if we flag up to this area, and we can get to that more ultimate resistance zone, then I think we'd be doing well. I think we'd be doing well. And then I might look to short it again. But at this point, I'm not in this trade. Let me just write this down after flag. And I know it sounds tough, but if we miss this trade and it goes down, we missed it and we move on. We're not too worried about things like that. There's enough time in this craft and in this journey that if it just kind of moved down and then headed on off, and that's the way that cookie crumbled and we missed the trade. No big deal. So this one here cupped beautifully. The euro pound, it cupped absolutely beautifully, and we're coming up to this line now. Why I have this line would be, I guess, for here and moving over to here. And yeah, I think we could start looking for shorts in and around this area. But you know what we could do now that we have, so this is more or less a zone that I'd be interested in. And if we write, potential short, and as I think I've mentioned before, I always put a question mark, so I'm not being too definitive with my decision making. And you can see that the alert has set, and if you wanted, you could even change. Now it's locked, but you could even change that alert a little bit. And I don't know, whatever. It's in a zone. We're just going to keep an eye on it. Once it hits that, you can see it's right at a whole number. Yeah, it's at a pretty major level. And once that alarms, I think you could even trade the short to the downside. But I'm not going to without confirmation and looking at my other risk parameters. Yeah. But I don't see any reason to short at this point or anything. But we'll put that on the watch list. Let's make that red because we're getting close to an area that we want. The Euro Swissy. This I'll be honest, this is something that I didn't notice how aggressively that moved up and how aggressively it's probably going to drop. I would say the meat of that move is over. I would have done the 50% pullback here, that confirmation squared trick that I do. I would have run that. Your stop up here, you would have been into profit down here, and you start seeing all these other candles you might want to be getting out. But you know, at this point, I would be looking for a long, but after a really good indication, a signal, I wouldn't be taking any of this. So the odd CAD, you can see that I just chip away and I wait to see what, like this does not take very long to have a watch list built out, finding your popular currency pairs, building out a watch list, and then clicking through them as you go along. Now I was already in trade, so I'm stretched a little, pardon me, stretched a little thin in my risk management. So maybe some of the reasons why this one escaped me, but it was probably for the best. It looked pretty volatile, and um, it gets a little hairy when you start trading like that. But the odd CAD is, I don't know. I feel like it was a trade idea that we had. Odd CAD, maybe I'm thinking the Euro CAD, but no, maybe it's a New Zealand. All right. Um, so the nothing that I'm loving here. I'd want to be going to the to the upside, but in 2 minutes. Oh no, I guess it's a little later. So scrap that. There is, yeah, right here at 8:30. There's a red flag news, so that's half an hour from now, 31 minutes from now. But yeah, that's going to be a hairy one. All right, so the pound CAD. Geez, while we're sitting here, what do we got? It's just dropping as we're sitting here, eh? This is wonderful. This was a really like, I honestly had my hands up in the air, like I have to trade this, but there was something that I don't know. It's working out, so that's great, but my gut was just almost a little beat up over this one. So the pound Swissy, you can see it's just dropped right out, came back, retested things, and it's just carried on. It's dropped as it drops into these zones, it retests and drops away. It's just a beautiful thing. And if you can just wait, if it had dropped, you would have waited for a pullback. And you have on an hour, you have the pound Swissy, you have these beautiful patterns being made. Um, and if you drop down, if you had traded this, you would have seen it drop out, pull back, retest, develop a beautiful shooting star for you there, Hammer family, and then it would have dropped and it would have kept going, and you would have felt great. And then you would have seen this one, and you would have you would have questioned everything you knew about life, whether you should go short, whether you want to get down to the zone, but it was due for a correction, and that correction came after, like, look at that. Look at how beautiful that is. These are so technically sound, these little hammers. Um, and at this point, we had a run up. You have these pin bars, I know some people call them, spinning tops. It's not a doji, but what you have is price moving up, and it's starting to show you, look, I am starting to exhaust. I'm starting to show you that I agree with the resistance that was at this point. I'm starting to show you that I am not going to correct all the way up into or pass or above these EMAs, these strong 200 EMAs. And as price is moving along and going sideways, you're just constantly getting these longer wicks, you're getting these tweezers, you're getting, the technical picture on a 4 hour is still a technical picture. I personally avoid like minute charts or 5 minute charts or anything like that. But on a 4 hour, 30 minute, 1 hour daily, 6 hour, 2 hour, you're going to start to get pictures that are within the wave structure that we study. So we have this run up, and now we're getting more and more reasons why we would be enjoying downside. And then you get a doji, and everyone just starts cheering. Every computer in the world just starts firing orders at it, and then it's had this strong run down without any slowing whatsoever. So if you sometimes go back, you can use your replay button, um, and it's going to just start to show you where these patterns start to really matter. And that's all we can do is recognize these patterns. Be honest with yourself. What would you have done if that had shown you got in here, you had so much money being made? Really try to think, what would I have done? And that back testing will be very valuable. And just simply even back testing this way, bring it to the end of the screen and start saying, okay, if this had happened, what would I have done? And you could obviously use the replay feature, but just a very quick back test would help you as well. This is that pattern recognition. So this is the pound JPY. You can see that we were calling it to the downside. Um, we made it most of the way there, and we'll see how much further this goes, but it's not a pair I trade very often. JPY, we really thought that was going to go down. Yeah, your double top forming, blowing through an EMA, but as you can see, that wasn't the case, and we're off to the next area of resistance, which is going to be here. You start looking left, look left, and you have a daily 200. We already have our alert set on that daily 200. Your little hammer starting to show. I haven't even introduced my indicators. I was playing with that heat map for a while. You can see that the trend is up, but the trend is down on this one. And maybe this is a little lazily done, my analysis this week. One, I'm pretty tired too. Um, I'm pretty stocked. I'm in enough trades that I don't want to get in anything else. So whatever looks good can just blow by me, and I'll catch up with it later in the week or when I start shedding some risk. So we've had the run down, we've had the run back up, and I'd be looking for it to hit these areas and at least start correcting to the downside. All right, so the odd New Zealand. This has been incredible to me. Buddy makes fun of me that I got in here calling my short. I definitely had a few shorts that were not right, and but I think we can start really. Let's see what the month has to say for us. Look at that. It's just starting. So obviously it's in the month pattern, 200 bars. It needs, because it's an EMA of 200 months, it needs 200 bars till it can start painting that picture. So how far does it, just out of interest? So 2002, it looks like it's going back to Jan 1, 2002. 18 years of price data. It looks so short. Looks so short. So yeah, what do we got going on? So we can see we're running down. I'm very interested to see what this does. You can see that from here, is it a little bit of a curve fitting? Would that be better? When we drop down, we'll have another look and see what we have. But we have price starting to show sideways action, pardon me, starting to show slowing, drop down to the week, and the week's not over, but we could end up with something interesting here. And I know I'm watching this one, and in half an hour we have some news, and that might get us going downward. I'm in a short around here. I really should be out of it. I'll be honest with you, it wasn't much, but I really should be out of it and just wait, because you get into these trades and you watch it go against you, and just get out. No big deal. I get out all the time. I don't have a problem with this. And then rolling over, um, if it did something to the effect of it gave us maybe a dark cloud cover or something along those lines, some of the terms. But if we could get below this EMA, I'd be happy to see that. And then, or especially inside this trend line, I'd be happy to see that. And then we'd be looking for a little more downside. Now, from there, the downside, I think you would be, here's your first target. And if it went further, that'd be impressive. But at this point, because of how strong this run up is, I'd be looking for a correction and then a run back up until something else tells me otherwise. The euro, let's get out of this one. The euro odd, I am not in this trade, but you can see we highlighted, these areas and they mattered. And it's whipping all over the place. So we'll see what happens. it seems like the thesis for this, midweek is that euro strength is coming on, and we're already seeing it in some other things. The Hong Kong dollar, we keep watching that, or I keep watching it, and yeah, we'll see what happens. It's just a sad little situation going on out there. Um, yeah. Bitcoin, beautiful. You can see this ramping going on. It broke. It broke aggressively. Guys, take note of this. Here's your trend line. It broke. It retested. It's dropped again. It is, in my opinion, flagging. I wouldn't look to long it till here. I would only look to short this at this point. Um, I'm going to even do for Friday, I'm going to do kind of, looks like maybe we'll do a flag and then, oh, my baby's crying. And then we have, so Bitcoin, I wouldn't be looking to do anything until this level right here. And it is doing its thing. I'm not against the technology. I think it's an amazing technology for the little amount I understand. But I don't know if I've said this, and I know I repeat myself. Bitcoin, Ethereum, all these things, in my opinion, are like LimeWire and Napster. They defined an industry, and kudos, and everyone will always remember them. But they did not stick around. They were the pioneers. They were the ones that got in there first and started the whole regulation process. This is a currency that no one even knows who made. This is a currency that sees price swings of 40% in a day. Imagine you were solely, or you had millions of dollars in Bitcoin, which some people do, and it went from, 1,400,000 or less, or went from a million to a million four, dropped down to 600 grand. You would not have the stomach for that. You would not have the stomach for that. And why would you want to rely on a currency that does that? So at this point, it's just too new for me to get too excited about. I don't own any currency or a wallet or anything like that. I actively trade in and out of things. Holding a cryptocurrency that has been hacked so many times, and people losing their hard drives and the hard drives being stolen, and it's not a comfort zone of mine. And that's just me. And anyone else can do whatever they want with it. But that's what I think is going to happen is the more prominent, like I think China's already coming out with their own cryptocurrency, Facebook, like when you start dealing with companies that are ready to play ball and countries that are ready to play ball with regulators and make everyone feel special, then I think that's when you're going to see regulators and these sort of alternative currencies come into play. I don't at this point believe that this takes the power away from governments and all that sort of stuff. Not at this point. In theory, I think it does, but they're watching it closely and they're also coming up with their own alternatives. So, there's in that LimeWire Napster analogy, that's where your iTunes and other companies that are willing to make it really pretty and package it and make money and pay taxes on it. Those are the ones that are going to be thriving. S&P index, I am short. I like what is going on? I know there's a lot of drivers in the market, but I am short. It's a very tight stop, and I'm right at the top of this because of this candle here, and you can see quite a bit going on with my charts. But I'll go quick to break even. I just cannot believe we have, no one's working. Who's buying this stuff? So let's move on. U.S. oil, we already talked about it. Um, just click back. So this is gold. Now, why is it blue? I'm not sure why I have it blue, but anyway, so it's so overbought to me. I'm a perpetual bull, don't get me wrong. It's so overbought to me, but and even indicators are saying the same thing. Huge MACD divergence. Um, Saying that, I don't see a massive downside to this. There's your run down. Here's your pullback retest, 50% fib level. I'm quite confident of it. Let's have a look. So this one, 61.8, beautifully failed to break above that. You see these trend lines being drawn right in front of you. There's no curve fitting in. I know I use that word where I'm trying to, just because now I know where the trend has gone, I'm putting a line. You can see that I'm adding the fib from top to bottom, and there it is, and it just rolls over. So I think a little bit more downside to gold, finding in these levels here, um, and maybe even retesting. I used to be a part of a group that was, they used to call the 200 EMA the mother-in-law's table. It always gets you back there. At some point throughout the year, you're always at the mother-in-law's table, no matter how hard you try to get away from it. So just it was kind of a funny way of learning things. So silver, beautiful run up. This was a trade idea that we're all very proud of. Look at this. Ooh, wee, yippee. And then it's, to me, when you start having these sort of wedge patterns being produced upwards, that is when you get the break to the downside. Um, I'm thinking about getting I'm changing, I'm rambling on, but I'm thinking about getting a touch sensitive monitor, and I can do all this with like a hot pen or something, whatever they're called. Anyways, nerding out there for a sec. So, it's had such a run up, it needs to correct. And then it can carry on. Hey, this is silver, guys. I know you guys all over YouTube love your silver. It's undervalued. It's the next currency. Wait till the fiats fail. I hear you guys, but I think we're on for a correction, and then that would be the next target. Where are we? 1880. I'm with you. I own this stuff. I'll get back in when we hit down here. Maybe even break it out. If there's a clean retest, I might even take that. Um, we'll see. My spread's a little wide on silver. I was happy to play a trade like this, but we don't want to give it back. That's the goal. We keep trading, and there's no need to give it back. But it is breaking out to the downside here. And there's some ugly lines, but I think that's what we're going to end up doing. I think we're heading down for a little bit of action there. Um, mark it up, heading down. That's what I think is going to happen. So that kind of wraps it up today. I've made some annotations on the chart. We have, what do? We discussed some trade ideas. Things went against us, but that's okay. We didn't have a clear picture anyways. While we're sitting here, let's have a quick look to see what is doing what. Um, but yeah, we're just moving on, moving on. And downside right there, beautiful. It looks like it's tucking itself back into this trend line. And this whole thing was a false breakout, like a fake break. Yeah. And at the end of the day, we all know anything can happen. But I think you're going to see price slowing here. And then I hope we carry on to the downside. I might tighten up my stop, start taking some risk off the table, move things around. But yeah, these are trades that I'm in, that I've highlighted, that have ideas attached to them, and we will see what happens. So once again, it's May the 20th, and that wraps up our session. Thanks for watching.